Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. And unretirement is a word that is more and more getting thrown around in the US American Today lexicon. It's becoming a bigger and bigger thing, and we see in a recent study from T. Rowe Price asking older Americans why they are going back to work. Now, honestly, right now is an ideal time in history to be older and be looking for work. The US economy, at least, lost a lot of workers during the pandemic, but our spending never slowed down, which brings a double edged sword of push and pull factors that push people in with good paying jobs, and also companies being more willing than ever to consider older Americans at all levels of position and willing to pay for it, and pull factors like inflation that are causing some retirees who retired early and thought they would be great because the economy was humming along. Well, those folks are having to reach into their retirement nest eggs and burn through it faster than they had ever expected, which means that now they have to go back to work. But for whatever reason someone is considering it, whether it is because they need to go back to work, or because they want to go back to work, or they feel they still got some work left in them, unretiring is becoming a more and more popular thing, and something that really should be considered by anyone who decided to jump out of the workforce earlier than maybe they had initially thought they would. So today we are talking about the continued rise in older Americans, retirees, going back to work on retirement for both fun and for profit. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. But now, let's get down to the video. Now, right now, we said it's a very interesting time for folks who are near or already retired, because during the pandemic, millions upon millions of people who had a lot of work left in them decided to retire and sit out those remaining good working years for fear of getting sick, or maybe because their industry shut down, or maybe even because they got great buyouts to have them retire early. And it just made sense to do it at that time. But now, with the world back open and at least the US economy humming along swimmingly, companies big and small are desperate for workers. And a lot of those early retirees still realize and feel they got a lot of work left in them. So let's talk about what is unretired, because is it as simple as just not working and then, deciding to go back to work? Because retirement in the USA has been a staple of the American dream. For generations like the silent generation and the greatest generation, retirement meant, one, that you were no longer or unable to continue to work, a notion that you have put in your time and that time has come, and start collecting things like Social Security and sitting on the porch and visiting with family and, making ships in a bottle and so on and so forth. And although that still does exist today, many Americans now are living way longer than ever before. The workforce has also become more balanced, making up of men and women who are both working longer, and retirements are getting longer and longer as well, as the age when people can retire keeps getting pushed out and will likely get even pushed farther for people in the newest generations, which we can see in some of the most recent Social Security data. But this pattern was sort of put on hold over the last few years when many older Americans who were not yet fully retirement aged decided that they would retire and sit out the economy until the pandemic blew over. And that meant an additional 2.6 million people decided to jump into retirement, whether they were ready or not. This early retirement for all but the wealthiest of retirees and folks with defined pension plans and things like that put a big hit on their retirement savings and their retirement plans. One of the biggest reasons for this is because many times some of the highest earning years for people are those last years in their careers, when they have the most experience and their skills are the most valuable, and when things like 401k matches and additional benefits all really start to add up. Each additional year that they are working, especially at that time, adds a much larger portion to one's savings than those early years when you're not making very much at all. So cutting those last year's shorts obviously did a number on many people's savings. Secondarily is that the main pension, in addition to anything that someone has saved privately, so whether it's a 401k or an IRA or any sort of private savings, is the fact that Social Security gets cut pretty dramatically for anybody who retires prior to their full retirement age, which right now is at 66 or 67 years old, depending on when somebody was born. But taking those benefits early can mean a permanent 30% cut in benefits, and folks had that happen. Even if they retired early and decided to still work, those hours can be very limited, as working over a certain limit would start reducing the amount of Social Security benefits a person can get. Lastly, and I think one of the heaviest hits to a retiree's finances, especially during the pandemic, is the persistent inflation, or the cost of everything that is going up. As workers right now are seeing a huge increase in their compensation for working to help keep up with inflation and encourage them to stay. Retirees, well, they don't have anything similar compensation to their nest eggs, to their investments, aside from Social Security, who has their annual cost of living adjustment. But we are already seeing that, especially this year, it's going to get cut in half, which is going to make the problem even worse. Now, with all that impacting early retirees, we are seeing a big uptick in older Americans going back to work, or quote unquote unretiring. And according to T. Rowe Price's study on unretirees, some of the biggest reasons people are deciding to go back to work is not because of what would seem to be the obvious reason that they are running out of money, because that really only represented about 10% of the folks that T. Rowe Price asked. But 18% of those folks, of the people who were sampled, said that they simply just want to go back to work. And an average of 60%, they say they don't need to go back to work, but they are. And that was for households who have multiple ranges of savings, starting at $50,000 all the way up to $750,000 plus. One startling and unfortunate and unsurprising finding in the study was that of those retirees who were working or looking for work, 49% of women said they are going back to work because they do need the money, while a lower 41% of men indicated that is why they went back to work as well. So it's a lower percentage of men who had to go back for financial reasons. And virtually 34% of men said that they wanted to go back to work because, well, they needed social engagement, while 25% of women said that. In a different study from the company Paychex, they found that about 1 in 6 retirees were considering to go back to work. And most of those folks who were considering go back to work, 53%, were looking for jobs that could be done remotely. I think this brings up a very interesting dimension to the current employment environments, because post-pandemic and during the pandemic, many jobs went remote. And now that it's more of a norm in the working world, that would make it definitely easier for retirees and older Americans who had stopped working to, pick up a couple extra shifts every week, or work part-time or work full-time, which is still going to be from home, which is completely different than how it was back in the day or prior to the pandemic, when you had to get up and go somewhere. Again, with the Paycheck study, similar to what T. Rowe Price found, as the fear of running out of savings was not the primary reason folks went back to work. While the top 3 reasons, number 3 at 52% of respondents said that they were getting bored. The number 2 reason at 53 was that folks wanted more money, or they needed more money. And the number 1 reason was 57% who said that they just went back to work for personal reasons. We don't even get to needed to go back to work for money until you get much farther down that list. So looking at these studies and thinking about the retirement from that 50,000-foot view, I mean, as somebody who is, pretty far from retiring still, unfortunately, and it seems like it's getting farther and farther every day as the retirement ages keep getting pushed up, retirement as a whole is really changing in the United States. It's not, rocking chairs and bingo nights, but as people are able to work longer because of remote work, because of longevity, and because of work shifting to more service-type jobs and not so physical-type jobs, people are showing that there truly is a sense of pride in doing work in the United States. It's sort of ingrained in our culture, and that people feel like they want to be a part and contributing to society in a very specific and fulfilling way that is provided by doing work. Of course, if they still can and are willing to do so. So I would not be surprised if we see more and more older Americans coming out of early retirement, quote unquote, unretiring, and bringing back some of those skills and experiences that obviously are going to be super helpful to our society and our community and the country as a whole. All right, now this has been Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope that you found it interesting, or maybe you at least found it useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel to grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourselves, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy day.